So going down this weekend, we have an absolute treat on deck in the boxing world, and that is Canelo Alvarez versus Terence Crawford. And in this video, I'm going to be breaking down this fight in depth, telling you what I'm expecting in this fight, and then ultimately giving you my prediction on how I see this thing playing out. Because first of all, this is one of the most highly anticipated boxing matches of all time, and for good reason, right? I mean, both of these guys are absolutely incredible. We have the undefeated Bud Crawford moving up a couple weight classes to take on one of the all-time legends in the boxing world in Canelo Alvarez, who a lot of people look at as the face of boxing right now. A devastating power puncher. He's put together a very nice resume for himself. But a lot of people have been out there saying, man, we want to see an entertaining Canelo fight. Guys are in there running from him. Feels like he's out there kind of coasting by. There's going to be no coasting in this fight for Canelo against a super skilled boxer in Terence Crawford. Cannot wait for this fight, and I have been nerding out for months, man, about this fight, so I figured I would make a video. We're going to break this thing down. Super excited to highlight this one, man, so bear with me. I got a lot of energy for this, man. I'm super excited for this. So let's first start with the tail of the tape. I mean, both of these guys bring a wealth of experience to the table here. Now, I will say this. This is I don't want to say a new moment here for Canelo Alvarez, to where even though Bud Crawford's been in some big moments, this is going to be by far the biggest of his career. And I think that this could be the biggest for Canelo as well, right? But Canelo's been in there with, the Floyd Mayweathers, the Triple Gs. He's been in there with some big names in the boxing world, right? And we've seen Crawford and the Errol Spence fight in some of those different fights. But Canelo Alvarez is used to being a part of these big fights. And now Bud Crawford, a guy that I feel like is still kind of a diamond in the rough, man. For as good as he has been, it feels like it is the biggest opportunity of his career, but one that is just a massive stage for him to go out here against a name like Canelo, as it is as well for Canelo Alvarez. And listen, 63 wins on the side of Canelo, 39 knockouts, undisputed in one weight class, 5'7.5". I mean, everywhere I look, it seems like Canelo, this dude's got a different height every time he steps in there. So it seems like he grows, he shrinks for each fight, got a 70-inch reach, 4-division world champion. So Canelo, what do we know? Super accomplished. He's been in there with the who's who. This is an absolute savage when we talk about Canelo Alvarez. And like I said, a lot of people look at him as the face of boxing at present. And then Bud Crawford, 41 wins, 31 knockouts, undisputed in two weight classes, 5'8". He's got a 74-inch reach. He's going to have about a 4-inch reach advantage here. I know it says 70.5, so 3.5, 4-inch reach advantage for Bud Crawford. He's going to need it in this fight. And a 4-division world champion. Unbelievable fight, man. Super excited for this, the way that these styles are going to clash. So that's tail of the tape. Let's first talk about the elephants in the room before we break these guys down, right? So I'm going to break them down individually, go over their styles, and then I'm going to tell you what I expect in this fight, and I'll give my pick. But we got to start with the elephants in the room, right? Because when I say elephants in the room, what are you talking about, Jake? What are people mentioning when it comes to this fight? And I got highlighted in red. The biggest thing that I'm seeing, man, the size factor. Canelo's too big. There's weight classes for a reason, man. There's weight classes for a reason, dude. And I feel like maybe it's because I'm an MMA guy. And, I know a lot of people that are going to watch this video are going to be boxing-based fans, right? Maybe we got a lot of MMA fans out there since I'm an MMA channel. This is nothing new in the MMA world to us. We see champions and outstanding fighters move up weight classes all the time to where we see the size not really play much of a factor, right? We got guys like Ilia Topuria moving up, KOing Charles Oliveira up a weight class. We got Alex Pereira moving up a weight class, knocking people out. We see it in boxing all the time. We saw Manny Pacquiao move up years ago and put a whooping on Oscar De La Hoya. We saw when Roy Jones Jr. did it back in the day, right? We've seen when guys move up and they have a tremendous amount of success. Right now, we have seen examples, like not to throw some shade here, but we saw Canelo move up against Dimitri Bivol, and it didn't work out so well, right? So I feel like, there's sometimes, yes, the size does play a factor, but I feel like people are putting way too much emphasis on that coming into this fight, right? And one of the big things is Bud's bulk up, right? I'm sure you guys have seen the pictures floating around. Bud Crawford, he's looking mean, man. He's in outstanding shape. He's had, I think it's been like a year. He's been away for a while. He's been really preparing for this, right? Turkey Al Sheikh was like, this is what he wanted, right? This is the fight that he wanted. He wanted to put best on best here, and Bud Crawford has been preparing for this, man. So he's been, getting used to carrying around this weight. He's been acclimating himself. But again, acclimating and training, That is very different than being in there in a ring with someone who's actually trying to come out there and hurt you. Not to say that that's not happening in sparring, but it's different when you're in there with a guy like Canelo Alvarez who's going to be trying to take your head off. So that's going to be something to watch, right? How's Bud's explosiveness going to be in this fight? That's what a lot of people are mentioning, right? That's what the elephants in the room are here. What people are bringing up about this. What's Bud's elusiveness look like? Is he going to compromise his speed? Because we do see that. Right? We see guys come up. Normally they have a little bit of a technicality, speed advantage, footwork, because when you're a lighter fighter, you're usually a little bit more skilled in certain areas than a guy who's a little bit heavier. Now, it's interesting because Canelo's not like a heavyweight or something here, right? If you're in a lighter weight class and you move up, you might have a footwork advantage over a heavyweight unless it's a Mike Tyson, right? So at the end of the day, I'm expecting Bud Crawford to still be very elusive, right? I'm expecting him to be elusive, but again, when you add on that size, we do see guys tend to slow down and some of those things tend to fade, so it's going to be a very important thing to keep our eye on. And then again, Canelo's plotty power style, right? We know how Canelo fights. He's on the front foot, high guard, going to move forward. Not exactly a ton of output, especially over his past few fights, which that's kind of caused people to, not like tuning into Canelo fights. I mean, they still tune in because it's Canelo, but they've been frustrated with the outcome of the fights because guys are running and Canelo is not necessarily opening up to a degree, but that's his style, right? He's going to move forward, look to cut you off, take his time, and everything he throws is with power. So, yes, that is obviously what we're going to be seeing here, and that's where the size factor comes in that people are talking about. He is the guy that is established in this weight class, and at 168, Canelo Alvarez, he's about as good as it gets, man. This is absolutely his home when it comes to seeing the best version of Canelo. And how's Bud's power going to transition? Right, a lot of people have been very critical of Terence, when he came up to, 154 in his last fight against Majormov, and we saw that, he was stinging him with some shots, but it was clear that the power didn't necessarily translate like a lot of people maybe thought it would. Now, I still thought that the power translated pretty well, right? I know that a lot of people are so accustomed to Bud going out there and knocking people out, but you got to keep in mind that Majormov kind of had one of those herky-jerky, awkward kind of styles, right? So I feel like that's something to factor in that kind of factored into that fight. But I still think Bud is going to have some sting on his shots coming into this, especially the shape that he's in. This guy's a really good athlete. So these are some things that people are talking about. The biggest thing is the size factor, right? Canelo, he's the naturally bigger guy, right? While Crawford, I think, is also a big guy who's kind of cutting down to get to these weight classes. Maybe he looks the best he's ever looked, man. Have you ever thought of that? I'm just saying. So while Canelo might be the naturally bigger guy, and he's probably going to have the power advantage still, I would say for sure, it's going to be very interesting to see all these questions get answered on Bud's preparation coming into this matchup. Now, we're going to start with Bud Crawford here, because when we talk about Terence Crawford, we're not just talking about, he's an undefeated boxer and this and that. I feel like Bud Crawford is one of those guys who's just getting ducked and dodged like a wrench from dodgeball, man. Like, it felt like every single person that had a big name that was like, hey, man, you want to fight Bud Crawford? It felt like a lot of people were like, hey, man, I'm not so keen to take that fight. And for good reason. Bud Crawford is an absolute savage. What he did to Errol Spence, man, was really the performance that kind of just really launched Bud Crawford, I feel, right? Goes out there, puts an absolute beating on Errol Spence. And what we've seen throughout Bud Crawford's career is this guy is a wicked athlete, man, right? I think he's got, he's just a really well-rounded athlete. He could grapple. I mean, Bud Crawford is a fantastic combat athlete, man. I would have loved to have seen him in MMA, right? But he's done very well in boxing. Right? And so whenever you're a wicked athlete and you add on extra size, I feel like those type of guys, they do a good job of being able to deal with that added muscle, that added size that you're putting on your frame, right? He's not just some guy that's like, all I do is box. And, I know he's a boxer, but certain guys that have, he's just a good athlete. So when they add on that size, I don't feel like it affects people like that, especially fighters that are just super dynamic like a Bud Crawford. Right, and what really sticks out about Bud Crawford? His footwork is outstanding, man. Bud Crawford, he's got the better footwork in this matchup, right? He's going to be moving around. He's going to be sticking and moving, cutting really good angles, creating those windows of opportunity, and that's how he sets up a lot of his best shots. It's the shot you don't see coming from Bud, right? And a lot of that's angling off, launching an uppercut, firing that left hand down the middle, right? And he's a switch hitter. right? We predominantly see him out of that southpaw stance, and I think that that's where we're going to kind of see his home is in this fight, is sitting in that southpaw stance, setting up that laser beam left hand down the middle, and, really kind of giving Canelo these different looks. But we've seen him switch it up, right? Where you start to feel like maybe you're getting the timing on Bud, boom, he'll change stances on you. And we've seen guys like Marvin Hagler back in the day, one of my favorites of all time, got War on My Mind, man, right? Going out there, switching stances, it was a little bit different with Hagler. I felt like Hagler was more fluent and used it a lot more, to where Bud kind of picks and chooses when to do it, right? But it gives you different looks, gives you more to think about. Now when you're starting to kind of make your reads on Crawford, then he changes up the angles on you. Now you're like, okay, how am I going to attack here, right? So he just scrambles your brain for just a few minutes, or a few seconds at least, right? And then he gets his shots off. Right? And his inside and outside game is perfect. And I feel like that's what you need coming into a Canelo fight, man. Bud Crawford is not, well, people are like, oh, he's just going to have to run around and stick and move for 12 rounds. I don't see it that way. Bud Crawford, he can fight on the inside, right? He'll kind of bite down, tuck his chin, kind of hide behind that shoulder, and launch some really good uppercuts in close, right? He's a counterpuncher, right? And Canelo's a counterpuncher as well. So this is going to come down to the countering the counter, pretty much, right? And I think that that's where Bud Crawford is going to mix this thing up. I think he's going to mix up the ranges. I think he's going to sit on the outside, play that matador kind of role while Canelo tries to pressure and move forward. But then we're going to see him sit down on some shots in the pocket. He's going to have to, right? He's going to have to land some shots to try to gain the respect of Canelo to back him off of you, right? Because in MMA, there's a lot more options to back someone off of you, right? You got your kicks, you got some takedowns, there's different things you can do, where in boxing, it's a little bit more difficult, I feel, right? Because all you got is your hands. Right, so I feel like that's where Crawford is going to have to utilize footwork, cut good angles, rely on that left hand down the middle, and I think that he's going to have to sit on some shots and take some moments where he's going to just have to decide and land some shots on Canelo to try to stop that forward pressure. But I think he's going to mix it up, inside, outside, changing things up, changing up the patterns on Canelo, right? And the jab of Bud Crawford, I feel like it's his best weapon, right? I know he's got some good uppercuts, good left hand. That jab that we saw against Spence, that thing was a piston of a jab. It was thudding. And when you see a guy who could switch stances and fight from, for both sides, that clearly tells you that they got some serious power in both hands. Now, I know people got power in both hands, but I feel like Bud's got a different kind of power in both hands, right? It's not like, oh, well, we really got to watch out for the right hand here. You got to watch out for both things. And that jab is thudding, man. The way he was tearing up Spence was fantastic, right? And you saw in the Major Mouth fight, once he gets the jab going, that really starts to set up the offense for Bud Crawford. And I feel like the jab is going to be absolutely paramount for him in this fight, because Canelo's going to try to move forward. Just going to have to kind of sting the bull every time it gets close. And I feel like that's what we're going to see Bud do here. That jab is going to be money, man. He's going to need it. He's going to need it, and I think that that's where his offense is going to start and stop, and to probe out those attacks of Canelo to be able to counter the counters. That's what this comes down to for me, and whoever can do that, I think, is going to be able to get this thing done. Now, Bud Crawford, like I say, he's got that 4-inch reach advantage, right? So whenever you're sitting on the inside trying to slug it out, Canelo does have the advantage there, but not so fast. Not so fast, man. While Canelo may have the power advantage, I feel like Bud's going to be in and out of there pretty quick, man. I feel like he's going to be in there. He's going to be in and out pretty quick. Like a drive-through, man. Boom, boom. And he's out. You pull up to the window. They hand you your burger. You're on the way. There's not going to be any messing around here from Bud Crawford. I think he's going to be in the pocket, landing his shots and sliding out of range. He's not going to stand in too long. And I think that he's going to keep Canelo guessing with the ranges and the way he does that, right? Because whenever you sit in the pocket, you're kind of giving up on that reach a little bit. So I think we're going to see him stick and move from the outside with good, long, straight punches. The jab, the left hand, he can throw a nice uppercut from range as well. But the countering ability from Bud Crawford, I feel like, is going to be just, it's just going to be fun to watch in this fight, man. I think he's going to probe, draw out the attacks of Canelo, utilize the footwork, switching the angles, and landing those counter shots. Those uppercuts that he can land in close and just rely on, hiding behind that shoulder, shoot those shots in close. It's beautiful to watch from Bud Crawford. And lighter fighter skill. Right, I got that in red here, right? And this is something, like I say, we see this in MMA a lot, right? We saw it in boxing, specifically. My favorite, I love when Roy Jones moved up, but I love the Pacquiao example, because Manny Pacquiao, it just felt like he was just so much smaller than De La Hoya, and he went in there and he just stunted on him. And we saw that he was even the power, the way he was able to land on De La Hoya. It was the angles, it was the speed, it was, all these different things, right? And that is a thing. Lighter fighters, they're just, Energizer bunnies, right? I know that Bud's not a small guy, right, but I feel like he's going to carry that lighter, fighter skill up to this weight class. And I feel like that might be something that Canelo's not exactly used to. I know Canelo's bounced around weight classes, but a guy that's going to be significantly faster than Canelo is what I'm anticipating here. Right, and Bud's got sneaky thud, man. I said that at the beginning of the video. People were like, his power, I don't know, it didn't transfer to 54 against, Major Mob. I thought he was landing some good shots on Major Mob, man. I know it wasn't I thought it was a very solid performance. You go back and watch that bout, I thought it was a pretty solid performance by Bud Crawford. Again, new weight class. Again, same thing here with a new weight class. But I was impressed with what I saw from Crawford, man. I think he's got some sneaky thud on his shots, and if you overlook it, he can sting you. And this guy's got 30-some knockouts on his record. Now, in the higher weight classes, guys are going to be a little bit more durable. While you might be faster and, more slick, which Bud is going to be that in this fight, it's going to be interesting to see how that power translates. I think it's going to translate well. I know that people are going, it didn't translate well against Major Mob. I still thought that he was stinging with some shots. And do I believe he's going to be able to knock out Canelo? I'm not so sure about that, man. That's a very tall order. Canelo, durable as it gets, good chin. But Bud's got some sneaky thud, man. I think he's going to be able to slide some shots in there, and he's going to need to back Canelo off of him and not allow him to just pressure him the whole fight. Right, in the boxing IQ, it's one of the biggest things with Bud Crawford that I think separates him, right? When we talk about some of the greats in boxing, what separates them from everyone else is, look, of course they have the skills, they have the mindset, they have all those things, but it's the IQ in there to see situations, react accordingly, fight smart, and understand that, look, this is the opponent I have in front of me, and this is how I have to attack him. This is how I have to be defensively responsible. All those things. There is no better person that you could put in there right now to go after Canelo and fight smart and do what he has to do and change things up to give him multiple different looks to get this thing done. That's how highly I think about Bud Crawford, man. This is one of my all-time favorite boxers to watch. Like I said, I'm selfish, man. I would have loved to have seen this guy in MMA. He's a tremendous athlete. I think adding the weight onto his frame, the size, I think he's still going to maintain that speed. And you heard Pacquiao talking about this fight. It's like focus on the explosiveness and the speed. Right? Because Pacquiao's a guy speaking from experience. Roy Jones, look at what happened when these guys move. And I know the styles are different. But I believe that people are really underrating the power of Bud Crawford, man. We all know he's got the footwork and all these different things. And he is the more dynamic boxer here compared to Canelo, for sure. But I have a question mark here for cardio. I do. Okay, I got to be honest. I'm wondering, right? Because when you add this frame, this size to your frame, I understand you're carrying it around, you're training, you're sparring, you're moving around, you're running, you're putting in those miles. I understand that. But when you're in the ring against someone like Canelo, what's going to happen to that cardio in a 12-round fight? Up a couple weight classes here. You're in the moment, the adrenaline, all these different things, plus the extra weight on there, the sticking and moving, right? If your power is not enough to deter Canelo, well, now you're going to be on the back foot a lot. When you're skating around, that's tiring, right? And how is that cardio going to hold up with the extra size on his frame? I don't think there's really going to be much of an issue here. I really don't. I think Bud Crawford's been preparing for this. I think he's going to be ready for the challenge. I like the lighter fighter coming up here against Canelo. Man, I feel like that's what it takes to go out there at this point and have a chance against a guy like Canelo. Good fight IQ, a variety of different attacks, good power, good movement, good speed. Just Crawford has everything, man. He has everything. And he's a wicked athlete, and I believe that he has a real shot at getting this one done, man. I can't wait for this fight, man. I cannot wait for this fight. So that's Bud Crawford, absolute savage. I mean, how savage to move up and put your undefeated record on the line. I mean, I get it. Big opportunity against Canelo here, and shout out to Canelo for taking the fight as well, giving Bud the opportunity. But undefeated record, going up a couple weight classes, dare to be great. Love it for Bud Crawford. Now, we have Saul Alvarez. I gotta throw Saul in there, man. Saul Canelo Alvarez, one of my all-time favorites as well. And, I hate that I gotta pick this fight, man, because I just want to sit back and enjoy, which I'm going to anyway. But Canelo Alvarez, we all know what the deal is here. This is probably the most famous man in boxing right now. And when we talk about the style of Canelo, it's not just his style. It's the style that is really a lot of fighters in all aspects of combat, whether it's kickboxing, whether it's MMA, whether it is boxing, they have really started to take influence from Canelo's game, right? The pressure, the high guard, right? The head movement, right? Canelo, people are just talking about Canelo like he's just this brute force and he's just got some sort of weight advantage, and that's all that this is in this fight. That just couldn't be further from the truth, man. The disrespect for Canelo coming in this fight is a little ridiculous. It is. Canelo is, his high guard, the way he hides behind that thing, the ability to roll with shots. He's got a granite chin. His head movement is elite, man. It's absolutely elite. I mean, you saw that. What was the Jacobs fight where his hands are down, he's slipping? I mean, it looked like a movie. It looked scripted. He knew everything Jacobs was going to do. Turning his head, sliding away. I mean, that was a vintage, that was a highlight reel performance. And we've seen that with his head movement, especially throughout his career. He's gotten so much better. So much better. But we have seen like guys like Dimitri Bivol, who, yes, they were a little bit bigger, but if you can draw out the attacks of Canelo and you can intercept him on the way in, if you can catch him while he's slipping and his hands do tend to drop, those are opportunities. We saw Bivol capitalize on that, which I think Crawford's got good IQ, very, very smart boxer. He's going to be taking a note of those things. So it's going to be very important for Canelo to mix up his high guard, right? Get the head movement going and don't drop your hands too much, and especially on the, the exits, because that is where Crawford is going to look to capitalize, right? And we know that Canelo's a counterpuncher. He's going to move forward, cuts off the ring really, really well. He's not really worried about a ton of output these days. We've seen that in his fights. Guys are running from him, right? I get it, though. I wouldn't want to be standing in there with Canelo in the pocket to a degree, right? I mean, the power is just different. Right, and he sets his shots up so well, right? And he doesn't telegraph. He just lets things fly, man. He understands what you're going to do. When you throw something, boom, he slips and rips to the body. Right, and he's got that flat-footed style, right? He just kind of plots forward, right? He cuts the ring off really slow. I must say cuts the cage off like it's MMA, but you know what I mean? He's got that high guard moving forward, cutting the ring off, boxing you in. And then that's where he starts to get to his power punching, right? And we've kind of seen that the output can suffer. It can. It absolutely can, right? Canelo's one of those guys, it just seems like he's willing to let you land 100 strikes, but when he lands that 70 or 60 or whatever it is, some of those in there, they're going to put you down. One or two are going to be knockdowns. He's going to put water in the basement. The body shots, I mean, that's why I got it in red, man. I think in this fight, we're going to see Canelo put water in the basement very early in this fight. He's going to test the cardio and that weight that is now on the frame of Bud Crawford. That's what I think, right? We know that Canelo, he's an incredible body puncher, right? The way he rips that liver shot, gets his head off the center line, boom, snaps that shot right to the body, uppercuts upstairs. He's going to put water in the basement, man. And that's also how you can slow down a faster fighter. Start to target the body, right? If Bud's moving his head, playing really, really good defense, body doesn't move, boom, tag him. Bring those hands down. That'll set up the shots later on as the fight plays out. But the thing about Canelo, he's got so many damn fights, man, that he's predictable at this point because you know what he's going to do. Because not much has changed. That's the reality. That is the reality. And I know some Canelo fans out there, hey, whoa, what are you saying, man? I don't like that, man. Don't talk about Canelo that way. That's the truth. That's absolutely the truth. He's predictable. Bud Crawford's not very predictable. Canelo is. Right, but the bottom line is what Canelo does is effective. He's like, look, I know that you're going to run the ball. I know that you got a dominant offensive line with an amazing running back. You got Derrick Henry in the backfield. We know that you are going to run the ball or you're going to try to stop the run. We're still going to run it anyway. That's Canelo's fighting style. He's going to move forward, throw power shots. He's like, what are you going to do about it? You can solve it. Congrats, man, you beat me. But if not, I'm going to take you out. I'm going to land those big shots and I'm going to win. Experience with huge fights. I said this at the beginning of the video. Canelo's been in some massive fights. He's been in there against Floyd Money Mayweather. He's been in there in the Triple G fights against Bivol. I mean, he's been in some huge fights, man. Right? Not that, we know that Bud's been in some big moments here, but I feel like Canelo's got the bigger moment advantage in terms of being in those situations. And boxing IQ, right? I said this before. People are talking about Canelo like he's just some big brute power guy, and that's all it is. He's got high fight IQ, man. He's got a good jab. Right, he starts to move forward, build his reads, right, especially early on. He starts to kind of gather that data, and then we start to see the pressure applied. Then we start to see him open up. But in those early rounds, we really see Canelo start to gather his data. Right, he's got high IQ. Think he's going to jab a lot in this fight, right, not really leave himself out to be, countered because he knows that the speed is probably going to be on the side of Bud Crawford here. But he's got good IQ. The head movement, the defense, setting up his shots, not throwing those naked shots that Canelo sometimes does. I feel like that's where he could get in trouble if he starts to get a little desperate swinging these haymakers out there. And cardio, right? As good as Canelo is, man, and he's been in all these crazy championship fights and all these different things, we do see him at times tend to slow down later on in the fight, right? Because when you're this big, a bigger, powerful guy, we do see you fatigue as well. So I feel like things could get really interesting if we're in these later rounds. right? Because Canelo, how's that cardio going to hang up? Bud Crawford with the added weight, what's each guy's gas tank going to look like? I think the meters are going to be, they're going to be kind of bouncing up and down in those later rounds. And whoever's able to push more, if this goes to a decision, they're going to be able to take the edge there. So how does Canelo's cardio hold up when you're throwing those big power shots? If you're hitting air against the elusive Bud Crawford, what's going to happen? What's going to happen if he's not able to stop Bud Crawford and we get into those later rounds? And, all of these different factors, man, and the power. While Bud Crawford, I said, as sneaky thud, I still believe that the power is on the side of Canelo Alvarez. Pure just sinking in. We're throwing big power shots. That is on the side of Canelo. However, the speed and the snap on the side of Bud Crawford, I think, is going to surprise people in this fight, man. I think it's going to surprise people in this fight. We know what Canelo brings to the table. He's had how many fights now? Moves forward, good head movement, going to hide behind the guard, cut the ring off, and look to let his big shots go. He'll let you outland him, but he's going to count on investing in the body, dropping you, and getting some of those knockdowns that are going to secure important rounds for him. So again, what an amazing fight this is, and here's what I expect to see, man, and then I will go ahead and give you my pick. What do I expect to see in this fight? I know I've kind of highlighted it throughout this video. I'm expecting, just a super competitive matchup, right? I don't think, there's people out there that are like Canelo easy. There's people out there like Bud Crawford easy. I don't know that that's the case. Again, it's a boxing match. Anything can happen, but I feel like this is one of those scenarios to where early on, we're going to see Bud Crawford have a lot of success early on. I think he's going to be sticking and moving. He's going to be maintaining range, utilizing that reach advantage, sticking and moving, giving him these different angles. And I think he's going to be playing that matador role really, really well. But then we're going to see Canelo start to build those reads. We're going to see Canelo start to kind of tag him with the jab a little bit. He's going to start trying to target the body, and that's what Bud's going to have to be ready for. So I expect Bud to kind of shell a little bit and start to catch and then shoot, his own shots, whether that's those uppercuts inside. I think the jab is going to be paramount for Bud to kind of sting Canelo, keep the bull off of him, right? And I wouldn't be surprised if we see Crawford try to put Canelo on the back foot, because we've seen that Canelo's not the same fighter whatsoever on the back foot. When he's moving forward, he's super effective, but when you put him on the back foot and you got him skating around and you're targeting the body, if you're Crawford, you start to kind of fatigue Canelo. I think that could be go time for Bud Crawford in this fight. So I expect an elusive Bud Crawford early on. I think he's going to be stinging and moving. He's going to be showing a speed, footwork, and elusive advantage. And then we're going to see Canelo start to build his reads. He's going to start to go to the body, bring those shots upstairs. I think he's going to land some big shots on Bud Crawford. But I feel like what's going to happen in this fight is Bud Crawford is not just going to be able to dance his way around, and win a 12-round decision over Canelo Alvarez by just dancing around and sticking and moving the entire fight. I just don't know that. I'm sure he can do it. That's going to be very hard to do against Canelo, because I think Canelo, he understands the task here. He understands how skilled Bud Crawford is. Bud understands how dangerous Canelo is as well. Right, so I think Canelo is going to come out here. He's going to look to land those power shots with the idea that, look, maybe Crawford slows down because of the cardio and the size, but we can't bank on that. So I think he's going to be throwing big power, maybe secures a knockdown or two that could really sway some things. But I just feel like that with Bud Crawford, early on, he's going to be sticking and moving, landing those shots, creating those good angles. Then we're going to see Canelo start to open up as things go into the back half of those early rounds, into the middle rounds, and then things are going to get ultra competitive down the line in the later rounds. So I think we see the matador Crawford in the beginning, and then I think we see Canelo start to build his reads, start to press forward, start to land some big shots. But ultimately, this is an amazing matchup, man. It's an amazing matchup. It's a super competitive fight. It comes down to the wire, and I think we have a close decision go to Bud Crawford. I believe in this guy, man. I believe that Terence Bud Crawford goes out there and pulls off the upset here and beats Canelo Alvarez. Listen, I've been watching Canelo for both of these guys, right? And I'm a big fan of both guys. I'm just calling it the way I see it, man, and the X's and O's and what I'm seeing. I believe that the lighter fighter skill that we see from a guy like Bud Crawford, Bud has all of the tools to beat Canelo. He does. If this was like a skills showcase, Bud wins, right? And I know Canelo's got his style that works for him, but Bud's got the footwork. He's got the fanciness. He can fight for both sides, the angles, the movement. I think he's got underrated power, like I've been saying before, and I feel like the jab is going to frustrate Canelo in this fight. I think if Crawford can gain Canelo's respect, especially early, land something of significance, rock him a little bit, which is hard to do. We know how durable Canelo is, right? Maybe someone could get knocked out in this fight. I just think both guys are durable. Now, we have seen Bud drop by, I believe it was it Gamboa back a little while ago, right? We've seen guys land some good shots on him. You know, Bud is not Floyd Mayweather out there with the defense, right? And I know that Floyd's like the greatest defensive boxer we probably ever seen, but still, you get what I'm saying. Bud is hittable. He's not invincible defensively. And just because you're the faster fighter, I think if Canelo can extend those combinations, work the body, start to slow down Bud, make him more of a stationary target, that is where Canelo will be able to open up and have some success. So I feel like if anyone's going to get a stoppage here, I mean, I could see Bud catching him with a shot he doesn't see coming, or I could see Canelo putting water in the basement, hurting him to the body, or landing a big shot upstairs at some point. But at the end of the day, both guys are tough. Both guys are absolute warriors. They're sensational fighters. I believe that Bud Crawford has the style to beat Canelo. I really, really do, man. I think that the speed, the footwork, the elusiveness, the fight IQ that he brings to the table, I think that the weight is not really going to be an issue. I think he's going to transfer, well into this weight class. He's already a big guy to begin with. He's a wicked athlete, like I said before. I think he's going to carry the weight well. I think he's going to be fast. I think he's going to be explosive. And I feel like he might even have a little bit more sting on his shots than what people are going to give him credit for. Wouldn't be surprised if he hurts Canelo in this fight. I'm not saying he's going to knock him out. I mean, that to me is crazy. I mean, again, anything could happen. But saying Canelo's going to get KO'd, I mean, that's pretty wild to me. Canelo's super durable. He's been in there with guys like Triple G, Dimitri Bivol, who's got some crazy speed and power. But that's where I look at this and say, Bud's got the speed. He's got some sneaky power. He's got the footwork. And he has the mind to go in there and understand how to take advantage of what Canelo does well. Love both of these fighters, man. But at the end of the day, I got to go with my gut and what I'm seeing on tape. And that is Terence Bud Crawford going in there, fighting a brilliant fight. Maybe we get another fight after this one. I mean, hopefully this is a great one. We get a competitive fight, which I think we will, and then we get a rematch or something. Because at the end of the day, how badass of Bud to move up, how badass of Canelo to take this fight. Not every day that we get massive fights in boxing. I know that Turkey's been a part of this. We got Dana in the mix here. I'm glad that we're getting these big matchups like Usyk and Fury, and I love that we're getting these things, man. This is a fight that is super intriguing. Shout out to Bud Crawford for moving up, adjusting your lifestyle basically to adapt to this weight class. I believe in Bud Crawford's skills. I think he's one of the best and most skilled boxers we've ever seen, honestly. And the power of Canelo, it could be the difference in this fight. And people say weight classes for a reason. Maybe that's proven true in this fight. But I believe in fighters that are lighter, that have the skill. They fill out their frame. They take the time to properly bulk up. I love it for Bud Crawford coming into this fight. I think he fights a brilliant fight. I think he will face some adversity in this. The Canelo, that power is going to get to him at some point. But Bud's going to hang in there. He's going to grit this one out. He's going to have to bite down and decide at times. I don't think he's going to be able to just stick and move for 12 rounds. He's going to have to decide. He's going to have to stand in there and exchange at times. And I think his speed and eyes are going to get him in and out of danger. Give me Bud Crawford to get this one done by a close decision over Canelo Alvarez. But if you guys enjoyed this video, please give it a like. Let me know who you think is going to win this matchup and how down in the comments. And if you could subscribe to the channel, I would greatly appreciate it. See y'all next time.